Good morning, students. Today in psychological counseling, we are going to discuss the next subtopic of credit 4, that is pre-helping phase. Okay, so in this we are going to discuss about rapport building skills and attending and listening skills. Okay, so what is pre-helping skills? First of all, we have to know about what are pre-helping skills, okay, or pre-helping phase. Okay, so pre-helping phase is nothing but before solving the problem of a client, okay, before helping the client, we have to know about client. Okay, so how well you know about the client, or how well you understand about the client's personality comes under pre-helping phase. So in this there are two skills: rapport building skills and attending and listening skills. So first of all, we will discuss what is rapport building skills. So everyone likes to feel comfortable with the people they are around. Okay, so here we are discussing about the client and counselor. So not only client and counselor, you go anywhere, okay, like your friend's home or any known person's place. If you visit or if you want to communicate with him, you want comfortness at that place, so that you can easily communicate with that person. So like that only here, it is a natural response. So it makes perfect sense that you would desire that when working with a counselor. Okay, so counselors are taught that the therapeutic relationship is the most important component to the counseling process, and the best way to build a great relationship is through rapport. Okay, so first of all, you have to establish a good rapport with the client. For establishing good rapport, what you will do, you provide comfortness to the client, you provide security to the client, you provide a good atmosphere to the client where he feels free, okay, and where he establish a relationship with you, so that he can freely reveal the information to you. So that is the main thing here in the rapport building, is establishing a rapport with providing a good comfort atmosphere. And rapport is defined as the harmonious relationship. Okay, rapport is nothing but a harmonious relationship between people while understanding each other's feelings and ideas. Okay, see, when you form friends on the first day only, you don't share all the things with your friends. Okay, first day you meet each other, okay, and you share your names, addresses, and also slowly you start revealing about your family members, about yourself, your interests, okay, your ambitions, your desires, everything. Slowly, day by day, you start revealing everything to your friend. How it occurs, how this process takes place, because how well you know about your friend, slowly it leads to reveal all this information. Like that only here, harmonious relationship between people while understanding each other's feelings and ideas. Okay, so for sharing of these feelings and ideas, you need to establish a harmonious relationship, and it is extremely important that you as the client feel comfortable and safe with the counselor. Okay, if you feel comfortable and if you feel that place and that person is secure, okay, then only you reveal the information. And if you do not experience this, then you will be hesitant to fully disclose and be vulnerable with your counselor. So if you are not feeling these things, okay, feeling not comfortable, and so what happens, so you hesitate to disclose the information, or whatever problems you are facing, you do not disclose it properly if you do not feel comfortable. So there are many possible ways to build rapport between counselor and client. Okay, so in this there are so many ways to establish rapport between counselor and client. So let us discuss each and every one. So the first one is, use your active listening skills to understand the client and their story. Use your active listening skills to understand the client and their story. So first of all, whenever you are establishing a rapport, so before you make any attempt at an intervention, demonstrate to the client that you understand where they are coming from. It may sound silly, but I actually visualize myself really tiny inside of their head. That seems to help me enter their world. So first of all, you don't know who is client, where he is coming. Okay, so everything is blank and empty for you. So slowly you have to enter into the head of the client by introducing yourself, by asking him like what is your name, okay, your profession or qualifications or the field of work, in which field he is working, everything. So that is that, like that slowly you are entering into the empty head of the client. Okay, so that is the use your active listening skills to understand the client and their story. Okay, then watch your speed. Okay, what is your speed here? Your speed of intimacy means how fast or how well you are establishing a relationship with the client, like how closely you are attaching to him. Okay, in the form of sharing views, opinions and ideas. So that is called as close intimacy. Like this intimacy we establish with our friends and family members, like our parents and siblings. Such kind of intimacy you have to establish with the client, and it is depending on the client's culture, background, personality, etc. See, some clients are very bold, okay, and they are very confident to reveal all the information, but these also affect on the culture and background and the personality which they belong. Okay, for example, if you take some cultural backgrounds are there, okay, where the people are not exposed to the extrovert, okay, so not extrovert, unwanted people, okay, very lessly they share the information to the unwanted people. So like that only, some this is based upon the culture, background and personality, from which environment they are coming, and what type of restrictions are there in the families, how well they mingle with the persons. These all things influence in the revealing the information. Okay, so here so these things also take time to form intimacy and establish relationship with them. If they have free cultural background, okay, they form very fast relationship with the counselor and client. Okay, and if there is if there are restrictions in their families, environment, and also they take time to mingle with the counselor, okay, and to establish a rapport with him. And it may take longer to build the trust required to discuss more personal and sensitive issues. Okay, some issues are very sensitive, like family matters, personal matters. Okay, so it takes time to reveal that issues. So if the relationship is good, so then they start revealing all the information to the counselor. And in order to assess the trust level, pay attention to both the content of what the client is sharing and client's body language. Okay, here not only what he is saying through the verbal language, you have to observe his body language also. Okay, some things we cannot express exactly as it is with our verbal language. Okay, some things we can show, they can show with their gestures, okay, facial expressions and body movements also. They try to explain. The counselor must be actively observe all these things in order to reveal all the information. Okay, and as they will be important indicators of how much the client is ready to share, it is important to be aware of these non-verbal signals, because not all clients will clearly verbalize their discomfort. Okay, so here the counselor should be try to understand the issues of the person from the verbal as well as non-verbal, like body language, gestures and all. Okay, so then small success first. Okay, what is the meaning of small successes first? So before delving into their biggest problem, what is the meaning of delving? Delving means reach inside a hollow object. For example, the client is a hollow object for you. When he newly approaches to you, you don't know anything except some preliminary information you know about him, like his name, okay, where he is coming, everything. Only that's it. That's preliminary information is not enough. Okay, he's completely his personality is hollow for you. Okay, so in order to understand his personality, okay, you have to enter his hollow structure. Okay, so before delving into their biggest problems, try giving helpful information, positive feedback or encouragement. You may even try an intervention on a smaller problem. What is the meaning of intervention? Intervention is intervening, is the action of or process of intervening into something is called as intervention. So first of all, you have to impress the client by solving his small problems, so that he can establish the trust on you. then he can completely reveal all the information which is related to the big issues or big problems. Okay, so first of all, try to solve the small issues of the client. Okay, here at this stage only attempt those problems you are reasonably confident you can address successfully. Okay, so which issues you can address successfully and you are confident in that, try to solve those only, and this will help the client to build confidence in you. So if you slowly solving his small problems, so in order to reach his big problem, so the client establishes a good rapport and trust and confident on you, so that you are dealing very well with him, and he feeling that his problems are getting resolved because of you. Okay, like that he establish a confidence and trust upon you. That is the small success first. Then treat the client with respect. Okay, see, there is one quote: give respect and take respect. So if you give respect, automatically the client also give you the respect. So whatever may be, how low socio-economical background he may be, whatever caste, region, religion background he may be having or possessing, you should not think all those things. You must give respect first of all. These are the comes under the human rights, dignity of the human. We should give respect to the human. Okay, so whatever he may be, so like that only the client also start giving respect to you. This may seems obvious, but from your very first contact, treat the client as an important person. Okay, and return calls promptly. If they call you, or if he seeks any information, return him promptly. Okay, so if you respond him promptly or immediately, he develop a confidence, and he think that a positive attitude he develop towards you, that you are responding him very well. And start sessions on time, dress professionally, have paperwork ready for them. Okay, so start sessions on time. For example, whatever the contact time is there for that client, like morning, evening, afternoon, whatever you have assigned, exact time you should be there in the office or any person wherever you people are meeting for your contact. Okay, so start sessions on time, dress professionally. You should be dressed professionally, so that a good impact will form in the client's mind and heart. And have paperwork ready for them. Okay, like questionnaire, opinionaire, or any data collection forms, everything should be ready for them. And respect their time as much as you do your own. Like how you do your own things, like do for them also. Because see, how well you want to be, or in what way you want to see, okay, from others. Okay, like that only you have to behave with others, then only you will get respected. So imagine how you would like to be treated as a client, and adjust your behavior accordingly. Okay, so like that you have to treat client with the respect. Then match styles. Okay, here watch your client and become aware of their communication style. Okay, so different people are having different communication styles. So in psychology, basically we have 4 communication styles. Okay, like here communication style is nothing but a way in which they interact and exchange information with others. Okay, the way in which they interact and exchange information with others is called as a communication style. So so here in psychology we can divide these communication styles into 4 types. They are passive communication, aggressive communication, passive aggressive communication, and assertive communication. Okay, 4 types are there: passive, second one is aggressive, third one is passive aggressive, fourth one is assertive. So let us discuss what is passive. Okay, so passive communication is a type of communication. Usually here in this passive communication, the individual fail to express their feelings or needs. Okay, here he failed to express his feelings or needs, and he allow others to express themselves. Okay, so for if the client is belonging to the passive communicator, okay, the counselor has to understand, and he try to help him in order to express himself. Okay, so that is the passive communication style. Passive communication is nothing but here the individuals fail to express their feelings or needs and allowing others to express them. Okay, next the second style is aggressive. In aggressive communication, speaking in a loud and demanding voice. Here the client speaks in a loud and demanding voice and dominate voice, and he make an eye contact with the counselor. Okay, like they are in arguing type. Okay, for example, his statements like I am right, you are wrong. Okay, and I will get my way no matter. Okay, no matter what, like that, it's all your fault, like that. They blaming something, or they are speaking in a very arrogant way. That type of communication style is called as aggressive. So here they speak in a loud and demanding voice, and they are dominant. And next, passive aggressive. Next communication style is passive and aggressive. They are most likely communicated with body language or a lack of open communication. Okay, they are mostly the passive and aggressive type of people. They are likely to communicate with their body language or a lack of open communication to another person. They do not communicate openly with the another person. Okay, they mostly use their body language, like gestures, hand movements, okay, facial expressions, eye movements, like that. So those are comes under passive aggressive. Next, assertive. The fourth communication style is assertive. They express their own needs, desires and ideas and feelings while also considering the needs of others. Okay, assertive is the people, assertive kind of people are they express their own needs, desires, ideas and feelings. Okay, while also considering the needs of others. This is the assertive type of people. So like this, we have four types of communication styles: passive aggressive, passive aggressive and assertive. Okay, so the counselor must observe and understand what type of client he is, okay, in order to match his communication style. Okay, so if he knows what type of communication style he is having, he can communicate with the client in that way only. But here we should try to match our client communication rhythm, but stay a little bit to the center. Okay, neither we should completely at the client side, okay, nor from our side. Okay, we should be at the center. According to the situation, you have to act. So for hyperactive clients, we stay on the calm side of hyperactive. Often the client will mirror our style and thus begin to calm down. Okay, so here according to their communication style you have to match, and if the client is hyperactive, you have to be center. Okay, you have to be calm, so that often what happen, if you are calm most of the time, so they also become little bit calm and they stop showing their hyperactive attitude. Okay, then next one is be competent. Competent means like becoming should be a professional and competent enough in performing your skills. Like it should seem obvious, but probably the best way to destroy a counseling relationship is to be incompetent. If the person is incompetent, so what happen, the counseling relationship will be destroyed, and the client is not going to trust you if you do not know what you are doing. And ensure you have proper training and experience before tackling the client's issue. Okay, so be forthright with the client about how much experience you have as soon as the client first mentions their issue, preferably during the first phone contact. So let the client decide if they want you or not. It's really their decision, not yours. Okay, so here if you are competent, okay, so it shows to the client that how competent you are, how many cases you have dealt, because you inform him that about your experience and your handling of cases in the phone call. Okay, by seeing these things only, they approach the counselor like how much experienced he is, how famous he is, like that. Okay, so these things should show is useful for the client to establish a trust and confidence, and then they start approaching to the client counselor. So here you should be competent, you should perfect and professional in your skills. Then self disclosure. So here self disclosure means explaining or giving information about the counselor by himself. Like disclosing personal information is also another way to build rapport, but be careful with this one. Okay, too much disclosure done too early and for the wrong reasons can easily backfire. Okay, see for example here the counselor should inform himself, like a small family background, okay, small introduction about him and his family, where he stays, like he also getting familiar with the client's personality, and he also in sharing something about him, so that the clients also start sharing information to him. Okay, and only basic information he has to give, should not give all the personal information. Okay, so that what happened, maybe that will be work as a backfire to him. Okay, so only necessary information, basic information he has to give to the client about himself. That is the self disclosure. Next, attending and listening skill, the second subtopic in this pre helping phase. Are the first one is establishing rapport, in that we have discussed these 7 points. Next, attending and listening skills. So what is attending? Attending refers to the ways in which counselors can be with their client. Okay, like how nicely they are attending and receiving their clients comes under this attending, both physically and psychologically. Their physical presence, okay, the counselor should be attend physically in front of the client, and psychologically he has to listen what he is saying. That is both physically and psychologically. Effective attending tells clients that you are with them and that they can share their world with you. Okay, and effective attending also puts you in a position to listen carefully to what your clients are saying. Okay, so the acronym SOLAR can be used to help you to show your inner attitudes and values of respect and genuineness towards a client. Okay, so here we will discuss about one acronym here, SOLAR, SOLER. So this describes what type of attending skills you must possess in order to listen the client effectively. So here in SOLAR acronym, S stands for squarely face your client, adopt a bodily posture that indicates involvement with your client. Okay, squarely means suitably in a position you have to sit in front of the client. Okay, and adapt a bodily posture that indicates involvement with your client means the counselor should sit in such a way that the client should think that he is really want to listen from me. Okay, he is very attentive towards me. Then a more angled position may be preferable for some clients, as long as you pay attention to the client. Okay, so that positions should be very appropriate when you are sitting. Okay, so that the client should feel that you are able to you are trying to understand his problem. And a desk between you and your client may, for instance, create a psychological barrier between you. Okay, so there should not be no barriers in between you, like a large table or desk. Okay, like there is a long gap between you and client. Okay, like it form as a barrier. Okay, whenever the people share their personal information, they come closer and they reveal. Okay, so like that only here the same principle applies. There should be no barriers in between the client and counselor. Next one, the next word in the SOLAR acronym, that is O, open posture. Okay, so ask yourself to what degree your posture communicates openness and availability to the client. Means you should be very open to the client. Like see here, crossed legs and crossed arms may be interpreted as diminished involvement with the client, or even unavailability or remoteness, while an open posture can be a sign that you are open to the client and to what he or she has to say. Clear, you should not sit by folding your hands or cross-legged. Okay, you should not sit as a cross-legged. It means you are not completely showing your attending towards him. Okay, openly sitting freely by leaving free hands and free legs, okay, shows that you are ready to listen him. This is a psychological concept what people think when they used to say reveal any information to others. Okay, so that is the open posture should be there. Next one is L. L means lean towards the client, mean little bit leaning towards the client, so that you are listening to him. Okay, lean towards the client when appropriate to show your involvement and interest. Okay, to learn back from your client may convey the opposite message. Okay, so going back means opposite, means you are that is not wrong thing he's say, that is not a right thing he's saying. Okay, and leaning towards the client means you are listening to him interestly. Okay, so next one is E. E for eye contact with a client conveys the message. Okay, so here that you are interested in what the client has to say. If you catch yourself looking away frequently, ask yourself why you are reluctant to get involved with this person, or why you feel so uncomfortable in his or her presence. So be aware of fact that direct eye contact is not regarded as acceptable in all cultures also. Okay, you must you must have proper eye contact with the client. Okay, so it means that you people are listening, both are very carefully. Okay, and very actively you people are involving in the information transaction process. Okay, and you have to remember one point here: in some cultures eye to eye contact is not acceptable. You have to understand those things. Eye to eye contact in some culture is not acceptable, so you must know the person from which culture they are belonging, so you have to behave accordingly with them. And next one is R. R means try to relaxed or natural with the client. Don't fidget nervously or engage in distracting facial expressions. The client may begin to wonder what it is in himself or herself that makes you so nervous. Being relaxed means that you are comfortable with using your body as a vehicle of personal contact and expression, and for putting the client at ease. Okay, so you should be in relaxed manner. Okay, something should not be go backside of your mind. Okay, so you should be completely devoted yourself to the client. That is the relaxed and natural with the client. Then next thing is effective attending puts counselor in a position to listen carefully to what their clients are saying or not saying. That is the effective attending. Then second one is listening. After attending, the next one is listening. So here listening refers to the ability of counselor to capture and understand the messages clients communicate as they tell their stories, whether those messages are transmitted verbally or non-verbally. So in listening, two types of listening is there: verbal communication, non-verbal communication. Verbal communication, whatever words they are speaking, that comes under verbal. Non-verbal, whatever gestures they are using, okay, their facial expressions, hand movements, that shows the non-verbal communication. So that also reveals the information. So here active listening involves the following four skills. See what are the four skills: listening to and understanding the client's verbal messages. First one is understanding the client's verbal messages. What are there? When a client tells you his or her story, it usually comprises a mixture of experiences, like what happened to him or her, okay, or behaviors, what the client did or failed to do, and affect the feelings or emotions associated with the experiences and behavior. These are all things clients reveal you in the form of verbal communication or in the form of words. So the counselor has to listen to the mix of experiences, behavior and feelings the client uses to describe his or her problem situation. Also hear what the client not saying. Okay, so you can understand, is he or she hiding something or revealing all the information, okay, or changing any words because of their voice and all. Okay, so if you personally experience these all things, you understand all the facts. Okay, so this is the verbal messages you have to listen here carefully. What are their experiences, feelings, ideas, behaviors, everything carefully. That comes under the first thing in the listening to and understanding the client's verbal messages. Then second one, listening to and interpreting the client's non-verbal messages. Okay, so here counselor should learn how to listen to and read non-verbal messages such as bodily behavior, Okay, so if he is hesitate, his body movements, like he shiver and all, okay, that will shows that he is hesitating and he is fearing and something is stopping him to reveal the information. That is bodily behavior, posture, body movements and gestures, facial eyebrows. Okay, his eyebrows maybe become narrow, broad because of the concept or experience he is revealing. Okay, twisted lips. Okay, voice, related behavior, tone, pitch, voice level, intensity. Okay, and inflection. What is inflection? Inflection is nothing but a change in the form of a word is called as a inflection. So inflection and spacing of words means how much time he is taking the space in the words, means he's try to forming the sentences. Okay, and emphasis means like giving prominence, and pauses, silence and fluency. These are all things you can understand by what information he is giving. Okay, whether it is accurate or his what are his emotions in this type of non-verbal things. Okay, and observable physiological responses, quickened breathing. Okay, quickened breathing or a temporary rash, blushing, paleness of his face, his pupil dilation. Pupil is eye pupil. Okay, the eyeball dilation, like contracting and relaxation. Okay, so by that also, by seeing all these things, you can understand how he is feeling or what he is revealing the information to the counselor. And counselor need to learn how to read these messages without distorting or over interpreting them. Okay, so without any disturbance or distracting, he has to observe all these things. Next, listening to and understanding the client in context. The counselor should listen to the whole person in the context of his or her social settings. Okay, so the social settings he has in the where they used to sit together, in that setting only he has to observe all these things. Next, listening with empathy. Okay, we all know listening with empathy. Empathetic listening involves attending, observing and listening, like being with, you are flowing with the client whenever he is revealing the experience. You are flowing with him and you are keeping yourself in his position and you are understanding the situation. So in such a way that counselor develops an understanding of the client and his or her world, and the counselor should put his or her own concerns aside to be fully with their clients. Okay, so here he put himself in the client's position and he tried to understand his situation. And active listening is unfortunately not an easy skill to acquire, so counselors should be aware of the following hindrances to effective counseling. So whenever you are listening, there are this skill is very difficult. Okay, and if you in order to get mastery over this skill, there are some things which stop you to listen the things effectively. What are these things we will discuss here? That is inadequate listening. Okay, so it is easy to be distracted from what other people are saying if one allows oneself to get lost in one's own thoughts, or if one begins to think what one intends to say in reply. So counselors are also often distracted because they have problems. Okay, see, if your brain is striking somewhere, like some problem is there in your home. Okay, but you are in the college and you are listening to a lecture, but your complete mind is working in the home only. Okay, what is going on? Okay, what happened to my parents, my siblings, like that. So here it maybe happens with the counselor also. So inadequate listening. So counselor are also often distracted because they have problems of their own, they feel ill, or because they become distracted by social and cultural differences between themselves and their clients. So all these factors make it difficult to listen and to understand their clients. This is called as inadequate listening. Next one, evaluating listening. So evaluating is nothing but judging or assessing the performance. So most people listen evaluatively to others. This means that they are judging the labeling what the other person is saying as either right or wrong. So you are judging here very fastly, that is right or wrong, good or bad, acceptable or unacceptable, relevant or irrelevant, etc. So they tend to respond evaluatively as well. Okay, so this is also one problem of listening. You judge very fastly, immediately, whatever the word or sentences they are revealing. Okay, so here you have to wait for the end until you you get all the information, then you have to interpret the interpretation. So that is the one of the drawback of listening, that is evaluative listening. Next one, filtered listening. So we tend to listen to ourselves, other people and the world around us through biased or prejudiced. Means we see biased in others, like we feel that what we know, what we accept, that is only right, what others say, that is not right. That is filter. You are filtering the communication of others and yours. So filtered listening distorts our understanding of our clients. Okay, here when the client is revealing the information, if that is not correct for you, okay, you think that he's saying wrong, like that. That is filtered listening. So and next one is labels as filters. Okay, so labels as filters means here diagnostic labels can prevent you from really listening to your client. Okay, here see, if you see a client as that woman with AIDS, okay, for example, if your client is a woman, she's suffering with AIDS, your ability to listen empathetically to her problems will be severely distorted and diminished. Okay, so because here you keep a label as that diagnostically she is a AIDS patient. Okay, then you cannot show empathy on her. You cannot put yourself in that situation that you also a AIDS patient. Okay, and you are sharing her feelings by putting yourself in her position. Okay, like that. In such situation, counselor cannot empathize the situation of the patient. Because of this, you putting the labels like he is a AIDS patient or he is a tuberculosis patient, like that. Okay, we actually do not try to understand them because of these labels. And next, fact centered rather than person centered listening. Okay, so here asking only informational or factual questions won't solve the client's problems. Listen to the client's whole context and focus on the themes and core messages. So here we believe only on facts. We don't want to listen to the person what he is saying. That is also one of the mistakes we do in the listening. Okay, so that is the fact centered rather than person centered listening. Then rehearsing. Okay, rehearsing is nothing but a practice of listening again and again until you understand. That concept is called as rehearsing. So if you mentally rehearse your answers, you are also not listening attentively. Counselors who listen carefully to the themes and core messages in a client's story always know how to respond. So the response may not be a fluent, eloquent or practiced one, so but it will at least be sincere and appropriate. So here the counselor listens the client again and again. Okay, so if you do not listen him again and again, you cannot establish or you cannot conclude his reasons for the problem properly. So this is also one of the drawback. Rehearsing should be there. And sympathetic listening. Okay, what is sympathetic listening? Although sympathy has its place in human transaction, the use of sympathy is limited in the helping relationship because it can distort the counselor's listening to the client's story. So sympathize with someone is to become that person's accomplice. Sympathy conveys pity and even complicity. Okay, so sympathetic listening should be there. You should sympathize in listening, that because you should accept his problem and you feel that he is suffering with something. Okay, you should show sympathy on the client, then only you can listen properly. Okay, and pity for the client and can diminish the extent to which you can help the client. So these all are the problems we face in the listening. Okay, so this is about the pre-helping phase skills. Okay, in which we want to try to know about the client. Okay, by understanding his personal information and also clear. This is the subtopic about pre-helping phase. Okay, in that we have discussed about first one is rapport building skills. We have discussed in that there are how many? 7 we have discussed. Okay, 7 points we have discussed, such as use your active listening skills to understand the client and their story, and watch your speed. Okay, small successes first, treat the client with respect, match your the communication styles, be competent enough. Okay, then self disclosure to the client. Okay, this is comes under rapport establishment. Then next one is attending and listening skills. In that attending come, and in attending again we have discussed solar acronym. S means squarely face your client, O means open posture, L means lean towards the client, E means eye contact with the client, conveys the message, and R means try to be relaxed or natural with the client. Then we entered into the listening skills. Again there are 4 types of listening skills, that is listening to and understanding the client's verbal message, listening to and interpreting the client's non-verbal message, listening with empathy. Okay, so then again there are some problems in listening, such as inadequate listening, evaluating listening, filtered listening, labels as filters. Okay, fact centered rather than person centered listening, rehearsing, and sympathetic listening. So these are the skills which as a counselor you have to establish with the client before helping the client with his problem. That is called as pre-helping phase. Okay, thank you.